Let's get our tent set up. So for a dome style tent, this is really one of the most common styles of tent. It only requires 2 poles to create its structure, and so that makes it really easy to set up, but also lighter to carry. All right, so first we're gonna pick a spot to put our tent on. And we wanna make sure that we're finding a flat area. We wanna remove any kind of debris, rocks or twigs. Also make sure that the tent is at least 10 feet away from the fire pit. All right, we're gonna lay out our tent foundation. We're gonna be using a tarp or a footprint, and that really helps protect the tent from moisture or dirt on the ground. We'll orient the tarp or the footprint in the direction that we want our tent to be facing and make sure to put the dirty side down. If your tarp is bigger than your tent, we're gonna wanna make sure to fold it under because we really want that tarp to be the same size as the tent. We're gonna roll out our tent and take inventory of our gear. Make sure the door is facing the direction that we want. Let's assemble our 2 main poles. The 2 main poles are the ones that are gonna be the longest because those are the 2 that are gonna be going across. You'll end up with the 2 poles crossing in the middle of the tent, and then we'll go ahead and connect the poles to the tent. So the poles are going to connect to the sleeves for this tent, but you might have grommets or pins that you'll be connecting the poles to. Now, if you have sleeves on your tent, then you're going to do this pushing direction with the poles. We're gonna connect the first pole with the first corner, and then we're gonna do the second pole with the next corner. Now we're going to go ahead and raise the poles up, and we're gonna clip it to the middle. To avoid standing on the wall or the roof of your tent, you can open the door while raising it. With the tent raised, attach all clips to improve stability, ventilation, and space. Now, if your tent comes with an extra pole, that's probably for the rain fly or a pop-up section. Now, your tent probably has written instructions on it. Feel free to check those out as well. Let's take down your tent. That will help it stay stable in case it gets a little windy. Now, if you're using a footprint, this is the time to go ahead and connect it to the tent as well, just to keep it all together. Look for the rings or the fabric loops at each of the corners. So tent stakes work best if you put them in straight into the ground. If the stake can't go in, just move it around a couple of inches and you'll probably find a spot. You can always use not just your hand, but you can use a rock or a hammer to make sure that it can go in all the way. You want to be sure to avoid using your foot because that can really bend the stake. As you work your way around, just make sure to take out any slack that might be in the walls or the floor and just kind of tighten if you need to. And if needed, just even move your stakes around. Let's get that rain fly attached. The rain flies are really helpful for warmth, protecting you from rain, but also dust and pollen. It also gives you a sense of more privacy. Now, if it's easier, go ahead and just put the rain fly over the tent and then you can move it around as you need to get it oriented. So some companies will put their logos at the front, and so that helps to also know how the rain fly should be oriented. Now, if your tent uses a pole for the rain fly, be sure to put that on now. And then we can go ahead and secure the rain fly to the tent. If your tent has a vestibule, be sure to close the tent before staking it down. Your rain fly may create a patio also for your tent. Just check your rain fly and make sure that it is as secure as possible. If you have a tall tent, then definitely consider using guide lines to secure it down. Pull the guide line out and anchor it down at a 45-degree angle. Use the tensioner on the guide line or tie a taut line hitch to really create that tension. Tents don't always come with stakes, so be sure to bring some extra ones. Congrats, you got your tent set up!